Okay, we are ready to go. This is the July 15th library board meeting. First, we'll start by taking attendance. We'll start with people in the room.
John Rodenbiker.
Wanda Minglecook.
Okay, and Amy Oren. And then we have a couple members that are joining us via phone today. If you want to check in.
Paul Jensen.
Kristen Schipper.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hannah James.
And James. All right, perfect. Okay, first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll move approval of the order of the agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, moving on to approval of the minutes from the June 17th meeting. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
I'll also approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
I will
I'll
second.
second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to public comment. Do we have public comment today? No. Okay. We'll move on to a staff report with Melissa.
Hello. My name is Melissa Duncan, and yes, I'm with the library, so I'm here to fill in for Megan since she's off this week. You have the staff report in your packet, but I did want to do a few highlights of that. One update is on current staffing. We have finished up training 3 LA1s at the main library, and Briar Harris has started as an LA1 this week at our main library. We also have some upcoming community event and engagement events, rather, that I wanted you to be aware of. The Be My Neighbor event is happening August 5th, and that's happening at the Fargo Civic Center Plaza, out kind of between the library and the Civic Center. And then also in August is the Pride in the Park event, which has moved to downtown Fargo, and it's kind of encompassing Broadway Square, the Civic Center Plaza. And so it will be right outside our door on August 9th. So we will be participating in that as well. Summer Reading Challenge update. As of this morning, we have 31,786 days read already, with a goal of 50,000 days read by August 23rd. So we have a lot of time. So we're hoping to surpass that, which we did last year. So we're hoping to do that again. We have 533 adult registrations, 189 teen registrations, 1,305 child registrations, and the 40-day mark for the Summer Reading Challenge will be reached on Friday, this coming Friday, July 18th. And that's when children and teens both, if you've completed it by then, they get their free book. So that's exciting news. Recent past events highlights, I just kind of wanted to follow up with programming. Since your last meeting, we had the Fargo Time Capsule opening here. It ended up actually being in the Civic Center lobby because we had rain that day, but we had a great turnout. We had 135 people there, which was really nice to see. It was a nice partnership. We did the kind of historical part of it. We had some related events, as you may recall, and then the city came in and did we were able to do that opening, and it was very exciting. We also had recently the Life Size Candyland event at Maine on July 7th, which we had 170 attendees. So that was really exciting as well. Busy day at the library. Upcoming featured programs and events, I just wanted to highlight a couple. And obviously, they're not all listed here, but you can find all of our upcoming events on our website, so please do that as you have time to do that. Children's has several events coming up now as part of the late July, the Summer Reading Challenge. They've got, and they'll finish up their majority of their actual events for Summer Reading Challenge by the end of July. And then in August, we will have the annual school supply bingo events, and those are happening at all 3 locations. August 12th, there's one at Northport. August 12th is also at the Dr. James Carlson Library. And then on August 13th, we'll have one at the main library. For teens, we have a stream table workshop happening, and that is happening one in late July at the 26th at Northport, and we also have one August 4th at the Dr. James Carlson Library. This is in partnership with the Fargo Moorhead Science Museum, and they will be bringing hands-on activities as well as an M River stream table where kids get a chance to see and feel the geomorphology in action. That's not how and learn how to reshape our ever-changing landscapes. For adults coming up, we have 3 author events. One next week is with a local author talk with Zach Solly. That will be at the Dr. James Carlson Library. We're also having one at the end of the month on July 29th. It's called Spy Pilot. It's a presentation by author Francis Gary Powers Jr., who is the son of Francis Gary Powers Sr., who was a notable pilot and key figure in the Cold War. He will talk about his book, also read from his book, and just talk about the research he did in searching for the truth about his father's 1977 death, and the honors he received from the work that he did. The other author event we have is coming up in August, and that is author Frank Weber. He is going to speak on the 2 of his latest books. One of them is called Scandal of Vandals, and then he has another one called The Sun. Finally, I just want to finish up with, we also, as kind of a multi-generational event that we have, is the Galactic Bowling Wrap-Up Party. Mostly this pertains to kids and teens because it is going to be held at the Bowler in South Fargo on July 28th. And it is sort of the party to wrap up all of the Summer Reading Challenge items. It's special thanks to the Friends for sponsoring this event. It's one of the things that they have chosen to do for the Summer Reading Challenge, and we really appreciate that. Then the other, I guess that's pretty much all I've got going on to let you know about. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah. Any questions at all for Melissa? No? Summer's always nice and busy with lots of things. Do you happen to know the time capsule artifacts that were in it? Are they displayed somewhere?
Yes, not all of them. Not all of them made it, but yes, we did have some that did. Well, it had been in storage for quite a while, about 6 years. So any water that was in there has drained out. It was. We have some pictures up actually on our Facebook page from that event, and the city took a bunch of photos for us as well. So it was all put in plastic, and then the capsule was sealed. But at some point there had been water, simply because there were items in there that were quite moldy on the bottom. But then there were things on the top that made it through. A Frisbee, of course, that's not going to really have anything other than needing to be washed off. There's also a landline phone that, of course, a slimline phone, excuse me, I should say, that was in there. There were also several items that were paper that did still, survived it. And we have most of those that were able to be displayed, actually are in the main library right now. They're in a small case over there, and that'll be through the end of July. So stop over and take a look.
Okay, very cool. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to our director's report.
Yes, per your packet, you can see various meetings. Some of the meetings, very impactful meeting that's not on there was my meeting with CD admin and the commission and mayor yesterday morning. We'll get into further details in regards to that. If anybody has any questions from what was in the packet.
Okay. Any questions? No? We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business, starting with the 2026 budget update.
Yes. Per your packet, you see the email that I received from City Admin City Finance asking to develop scenarios related to a 3% cut to 2026, a 5% cut to 2026, and a 10%. And you see the amounts there listed. Went ahead and did that. Obviously, rather significant in terms, especially even at the 3. You know, we're less than 5% of the entire general fund, the entire budget of the library. Certainly had that conversation with city leaders elected and city admin yesterday morning. At the 10% level, you can see that number there. It's almost $585,000 to be cut from the library. And obviously at that point, you know, despite all the other cuts to the book budget, electronic reference resources, you know, ILS development, materials processing, security for Carlson, it would still require, you know, cutting a branch essentially. I mean, because that was the number, to get to that number. Certainly, the conversation I had with city leaders, and I think I didn't get a sense from any of the elected officials that that was a direction they wanted to go. I would say we got a long ways to go, obviously. Where it is now is they're continuing their discussions at their level. Certainly, the mayor has to have his preliminary budget on or before the 28th of this month. So the next week or so is very critical, obviously, to see what we're looking at for 2026. Like I said, I'm encouraged by the conversation yesterday morning. I know, though, given the situation, that there will be some level of impact. I do not doubt that. Obviously, it's kind of waiting to get that number and making the adjustments once that is done. So, you know, it's more hurry up and wait at this point, and certainly having those conversations, obviously internally, to talk to staff and all their questions and concerns. I answer as best I can, but I don't promise anything because that would give the impression that I'm in control at some level of this, and that's certainly not the case. So certainly it was a good conversation. You know, I firmly believe that, you know, in the near term, the loss of Northport would be so bad because it would be cost prohibitive to try and bring it back at that point. And what would happen then is you truncate the service in a near-term way. And, you know, with our facilities master plan, we've identified, you know, a possibility of another branch down on the south side. If a branch on the north side was to go away, there's no way anybody, I would think, on the north side would vote for funding an additional branch on the south side. That would never happen. So you would have this almost generational impact on our ability as an organization to provide services to cover the length and breadth of the city. So I think the elected officials were sensitive to that discussion. They got a lot of work to do, obviously. I'm one of many departments. So that's kind of where the conversation is at this moment. If anybody has any questions?
Obviously, it was like a pretty big discussion, but yeah, is there any other like additional questions or comments at
I
all?
think Paul's got one.
Paul on the line.
Yeah, I just have a little comment here. This IMLS, Institute of Museum and Library Services, that was cut from the big and beautiful bill, you know, the HR 1. That must have been the direct, or should I say, that must have been the effect that you're feeling now on the budget pressure. Is there anything else?
I would say that that's, you know, the MLIS on the, you know, that organization, those monies primarily in the state of North Dakota go to the state library. The Fargo Public Library does not see any of that money. Obviously, we get services from the state library that are funded through that money. In every discussion that I've had currently is that the state library did get fully funded per the requested grants from that organization. So they were not impacted negatively in terms of the grant requests that they made from that organization. So that doesn't have a bearing on this current situation locally. That, I think what we are dealing with is obviously, adjustment per the legislature in terms of the 3% cap on property taxes and other issues related to revenue before said cap was, passed at the state level. So it's, it's kind of a many permutations involved in local funding that are impacting the whole city in that regard. So it's a good question. I think it's good to educate, and I think we're lucky that the state library did get that money, because statewide interlibrary loan basically is funded by that, which is huge especially for the small libraries. So no direct impact in terms of this discussion, but it would have been bad for the statewide, and luckily enough, and they've talked about that they've received all the grant monies that they requested.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a question. The preliminary budget is due from the mayor on the 28th. Will there be any other budget action before the next meeting of this board in mid-August?
I would imagine I'm going to find out where the situation is prior to the 28th of this month. I'm going to be asking, obviously, because we have to start adjusting and planning and everything that we need to do. So certainly I'll be in communication, certainly with Amy in that regard as we go forward, everything drastic. So
after this meeting that you had this week, do they come back to you and say, you know what, for your area, we're just going to have you focus on the 3% and like what that really means in more detail? Or do they like give you an idea or a range of where they think you will possibly be sitting with your department?
I think, given how unprecedented this is, they've never did it this way before. Mm-hmm. I can only anticipate that, they'll make their adjustments and identify areas and across the board and do the math, and then go back and say, okay, this is what we, based on our conversation with you and looking what we need to do, it's going to be X. How that, I want that obviously to be communicated directly. So I think there's a lot of, that a meeting like that yesterday, I've never had a budget meeting like
Interesting.
that. So it's really unprecedented. So
Sure.
I'm hoping, and my big discussion was, let's make sure that this is transparent. Let's make sure that as this is known, that it's really talked about directly, both to department heads and certainly to the public, so they understand those impacts directly from the city. And so that's what I'm hoping for.
So even in like the news articles, they specifically mention the cuts would include a variety of things, but like the biggest part of that conversation sounded like the North Park branch. So and it didn't sound like the commissioners were loving that idea.
No,
Can they come back and say, you need to cut still, but like you're not allowed to cut the Northport branch?
Right. I think obviously, we did provide the 3%. We did provide the 5% and the 10% as requested, or I did rather, worked with my team to identify those cuts. How they mix and match and
Sure.
and create the salad, as it were. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll find out when I find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other specific questions or comments?
It's not a question. I'm just hoping that the commissioners and the mayor, recognize how essential the services is across the city and the need we really have to grow to meet the demand of the public. Being asked to cut is really devastating at any level.
So kind of
Still
with that,
recognizing the situation of the overall budget, looking at, our usage reports, our circulation, the city loves our libraries and they use them very much. And I do consider it to be an essential service of a modern and growing city. And so I'm hoping our commissioners are recognizing that as they're thinking through these difficult decisions.
Yeah. So kind of going with that, what is the best way for us to help show support? Not even just the don't take away Northport, but just like what does the budget that the library has to use is important in general to us
You know,
as members of the board?
well, as a citizen, certainly to communicate, you know, as a consumer of said, because ultimately in every public service, ultimately the strongest voice, the most important voice is the individual citizens that use that service. You know, if there's ever a time where folks who really, you know, see us as a value and have that, well, this is their opportunity to speak to that. And I guess you as citizens are certainly to have that discussion as well. Yeah, this is kind of a crucial week and a half that we're looking at for the future of the library. You know, I got a sense of understanding of the importance of the library from the elected officials. It wasn't like, who are you again? You know, why are you here? What's your name? You know. So there's a sense there, but I think again, the most important voice is the citizens, the residents that utilize the resource for multiple, you know, all the various reasons that they come to the library. Well, that's an important thing that folks that are making decisions need to hear, and this is the time that those conversations need to happen.
So if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, message your commissioners and your mayor. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but I did.
Just did.
Just did. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on this topic? No? All right. Moving on to B, the 2026 fee changes.
Yes, as another part of the discussion related to the 2026 budget, we were tasked to look at fees and what, you know, kind of what can we adjust based on history and what we're doing. So per your packet, on the second sheet, you see a list of changes. The first one, the non-resident card, excuse me, it's been $20 for ever, long time. And it's also currently, it's been almost like 20 years or right around 20 years that we basically allow just regular citizens of North Dakota, not Fargo residents, are eligible to get a card essentially for free. Well, given the challenges that we see, looking at making the change from $20 to $60 per non-resident individual per year. The other items are all related to meeting rooms, and that was kind of a look around the local metro in terms of costs for meeting rooms and kind of getting close to online with that. Not completely, but certainly more in the neighborhood of what is charged other per hotels and what of that nature. So the community room currently is like $100 for 4 hours. Changing that to $300 per 4 hours, essentially $75 per 4 hour block for for-profit organizations. That's for profit. The next one is just a simple $10 per hour for 4 hour block, $40 total for nonprofit. It's a nominal fee, helps us out. Meeting room technology, we haven't looked at that in a really long time. $20, you know, there's a huge staff overhead that's involved with that. That is not acknowledged in any shape or form at the $20, probably not at the $50 level either, but it gets us more in line with, look at, like I mentioned, other venues in Metro. And then just other than the community rooms, obviously we have conference rooms, to make that $50 per use for profit. That's for profit, $50 per use. So I think these are, you know, a lot of changes. These haven't been touched in a really long time. I think we were tasked with this as part of this whole discussion per 2026. I think this gets us in line, more up to date in regards to fees, and kind of gets the sense of the overhead that's involved in terms of some of these services. So I offer this up as rate changes for 2026.
Okay. Any questions or comments at all? Yep.
I move we approve the adjustments to the listed fees as described in our packet as of 1/1/2026.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. On to letter C, the overdrive access chain.
Yes, and we've talked about e-content for a while, and it's a very important service, a very popular in terms of circulation. You've seen the numbers in terms of increase. And again, looking at where we are in terms of 2026 budget, you know, hold times are increasing, number of holds are increasing. And we really think that it's one of those services that we want to, the viability, we want to maintain some level of viability. If we're not going to get the additional resources to continue to build the collection the way we should, then we must economize on the other side in terms of access. And currently, if we, you know, I believe we basically confine it to City of Fargo citizens. Essentially, they're paying the bill for it. And ultimately, though, folks that are not City of Fargo residents can still get a North Dakota state library card and still have access to Overdrive Libby. So it's not like it's a complete shut door in that matter, but this really helps us to maintain the viability of our service for our residents, essentially. So it's one of those environmental things where we are when we look at 2026, we don't have the additional resources to continue to make it viable.
Okay. When we had our not our long discussion, but our education on like how these work again, because that was part of it, was that Libby specifically was kind of like a shared resource amongst other libraries, right? So can you explain how does that like officially cut off with what we're doing?
All our people would get everything first.
Okay.
And that we could say, oh, these are just for us. These are just for City of Fargo residents.
Okay.
There's, in the Overdrive Consortium, there's consortial purchases and there's local purchases,
Got it.
right? So the person, non-resident of Fargo that has the state card gets the consortial access. City of Fargo residents would get all the Fargo stuff that's sequestered off from the consortial.
Okay. Because were we purchasing things together with other groups, or did we have our own individual Fargo things too that
We
we're
have
like,
both.
all gonna
We're
share?
kind of helping out with the shared, because that helps, obviously.
Sure.
And then this. So
Okay. Does Fargo still get like that shared pot, or does this just be like?
I believe so.
Now Libby is just ours. Okay. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay. Do I have a motion for approval on that?
I will move to change the circulation policy to limit access to Fargo Public Library's e-content resources to the City of Fargo residents, effective 1/1/2026.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I can second.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval? Oh, sorry. Any discussion? No. Do I have a motion or
You have the motion. You just need to call the vote.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
You're just,
All
be-
right.
you're just being thorough, Amy.
Motion passes.
Are you really, really sure?
I'm fired.
No, no, no.
Not yet.
Not yet. There's still time. Okay, great. Let's move on to the statistical report. June usage is up first.
Right. You can see we were just down in terms of comparison to last June, just like 1%. Year to date, though, down 4%, just a little over 9,000. Program attendance year to date up 5% over last year. Volunteer hours up 16% over last year. Internet sign up down 13%, obviously a Sunday impact there. Electronic activity down 22% over last year. In terms of circulation, June of 25 was up almost 5% over June of 24. That puts us still down just over 2% under 2024. Obviously, Sunday impacts there. Any questions on circulation or usage?
Any questions? All right. On to the June financials.
Yes, looking at the donation summary, you can see a $10 monthly payroll donation from a patron. The $2,100 is $1,000 kind of reimbursing us from the West Fargo Friends for One Book, One Community. $900 from a longtime donor patron, Linda Miller, for the Carlson Library. And $200 for the Lawrence Zilgett. That's another donation for the Northport Library. On the expenditure side, per board decisions, the $13,098 is the children's furniture down at Carlson, which has arrived and is currently there.
Great.
It's getting used. The $1,094 was for the summer reading program kickoff event, so thank you, friends, for that. $75 for summer reading challenge books. Thank you, friends, for that. The $354, that's $30 for the Way to Go staff recognition, and $324 for the summer reading challenge start week treats for staff. So thank you, friends, for that as well. Any questions on that?
Okay.
Looking at operating through the end of June, 50% of the year lapsed already. Just under 48% expended. Obviously, continue to watch that as we go through the year. Total aggregate budget on that. In terms of revenue, through the first half of the year, we'll surpass what we estimated based on what we got so far. So nothing bad there.
Okay, any questions at all on any of the statistical reports? No? Okay, moving on to Friends of the Library report. Do we have friends? No? Okay, well, our next meeting is August 19th, and we are adjourned from this monthly meeting. We're gonna zip right over into our annual meeting. Do I need any formal transition statement? Nope, that's it.
You zipped on over.
Zipped on over. All right, so moving on to approval of the order of the agenda. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll move approval of this order of the agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
Hannah James will second.
Perfect. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to number 2, we need the approval of the minutes from our July 16th, 2024 annual meeting. Do I have a motion for approval from the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, moving on to number 3, the affirmation of library board ethics statement. Do you go into that?
Yeah, you can see per the action summary sheet, it was something that was identified by a board orientation subcommittee back in the day when they were kind of building a new orientation for library board members, and they thought it was really important set of statements that would be reaffirmed by the board on an annual basis. So I always include it as part of the annual meeting.
Okay. Any questions or comments at all on that? No? Okay, do we have a motion for approval?
I move to approve the affirmation of library board ethics statement.
Okay, do we have a second?
I can second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, moving on to election of officers of the 2025-2026.
So
Season?
a board member could say, I move to nominate so-and-so and so, and, first you do president and then you do vice president.
Okay,
So somebody can come out and make a motion to nominate.
okay. Do we have a motion for nominations?
I move to nominate Amy for president again.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay.
It's an easy one.
All those in favor or any discussion? Man, even when I mess up Parley Pro, you guys are so nice. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? No? Okay. That passes.
Then you need a
Next is
motion for vice president.
Okay. Do we have any nominations for vice president?
Jen is the.
I nominate John Rodenbiker to be vice president of the Fargo Public Library Board.
Yeah.
No, she was nominating.
Oh, no. Who just made that nomination? Was that Kristen?
Kristen Schiffer.
Yeah, that's
Kristen.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
And who made the second? Did we get a second?
There's no second. Do we have a second to nominate John for
Yes.
vice president?
Paul Jensen here nominates John Rodenbacher. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Paul second.
Second.
Second. Okay. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
The
Okay.
ticket is full.
All right. And that's it. That's everybody, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so that is the conclusion of our 2025 annual meeting then. We are adjourned.